Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Well, after sitting through the entire season of My Brave Little Unicorn, Starfleet is Magic, ugh, and to tell you honest, I kind of liked that new style I pulled. It was kind of actually fun. I think I need to go back to something cool in order to prove a certain point of mine. To help further establish something. As such, let's check out what the Rangers are doing in Gaia. So without further ado, please enjoy us. We here at the Berry Memorial Library are proud to present Power Rangers Guardians of Gaia Season 1, Chapter 3, Unity. For Justin G. Warrior Carmichael, who loved tokusatsu as much as anyone else, and he himself became a toku hero. Ride on, Fami Kamen Rider. According to legend, the Guardians of Gaia had companions which wished to fight the more menacing dangers that emerged from the darkness. They were known as the Gaia Zords, colossal creatures that existed as a balance between nature and Gaian technology. If called upon, there was nothing that they, or the Guardians, couldn't achieve while working together. Still, that raises a question. If the Guardians and the Gaia's swords are so powerful that no foe could defeat them, why did they disappear in the face of looming evil? And now, Chapter 3, Unity. Not much is known about who the Guardians of Gaia were as people. As warriors, however, they were brave, kind to the downtrodden, ferocious to their enemies, and always there for one another. So one can assume they were good people. And as exploits of their flawless teamwork seemed to suggest, it could therefore be assumed that they were the very best of friends, rarely, if ever, coming to conflict. I'm just saying, bunk beds are the way to go, Madeline insisted, getting huffy. Patrick pinched the bridge of his nose so hard that it looked like he was about to bruise it. I understanding. We don't have the tools to make bunk beds. All we need to do is stack the beds on top of each other, Madeline argued. You need to put some blocks in between, use some steel beams to hold them up, and a ladder to climb. No! Dirk interjected. No ladders. I did the ladder things with bunk beds on the farm, and they suck. We gotta go with steps. On top of that, stacking them down like that could end a disaster, Pat pointed out. What does the one keep loose? You could kill whoever's underneath. Nikki groaned and face palmed, watching this argument from the sidelines with Leia. Joe War had been decent enough to create a room for them, and even he had 4 beds that they could use. Unfortunately, giving the living contestants set up had been a disaster since the word go. It's not even that she didn't understand why Madeline wanted bunk beds, not just from a child's standpoint, but because they took up less of the floor. Still, facts were facts. There was just no way they could safely make the 4 beds to 2 sets of bunk beds. And you live for this at home? Nikki asked Layla. Layla nodded, blushing and saying, And in the dorms at college. I had a 1-year break from it. I cherished that year so much. Is there a problem? Layla sprang up nearly 4 feet as Joe Ward appeared right behind her, Nikki having to catch her. Gah! Do you have to do that? Sorry, I tend to forget you aren't used to teleporting yet. Among other things. I'm sorry, I forgot who I was doing the voice for. Joe apologized. I just thought I'd check in to see what all the yelling was about. Patrick walked over, having finally released the death grip on his own nose. Madeline wants bunk beds. I keep telling you it's impossible, but... Oh, is that all? Joe asked. Hold on, then. Joe raised his staff, the unicorn horn at the top glowing brightly. One flash of light later, the beds were reformed into 2 sets of bunk beds, complete with wooden staircases to climb to the top bunks. The elderly wizard smirked, stroking his beard, looking proud of himself. Yay, bunk beds! Madeline cheered. I got a lot of ladders, but I guess I'll meet you guys halfway with stairs. How did it start to meeting us halfway when she nearly got everything she wanted? Pat muttered to Nikki, who just tried. Say, Joe, is that really the most appropriate use of your powers? Layla asked. Joe huffed. The wizard as well as myself can use this magic however he sees fit. Malin is going to turn to face the team. Next piece of business. I was thinking we should all streak our hair to match our ranger colors. Nikki blinked, confused. Why? Madeline rolled her eyes, pointing to the violet streaks in her head. Because I'm the only one with hair that matches my ranger color. We should all do it, so we all match our ranger colors. Absolutely not! Patrick yelled, forming an X on his arm. I love my red hair, and I'm not doing anything to change it! Besides, it's honestly not enough that we're all dressed in the same colors as our ranger suits. Well... Okay, I offer this fic 2 points on the meta scale. Dark asked, everyone looking at like he had grown a second head. What? Seriously? I'm the only one who knows this? The team hesitantly looked down at their clothes. Sure enough, they were all wearing some form of clothes that had the same color as their ranger suits. Nikki was wearing a red t-shirt, black knee-length jeans, and red and black sneakers. Patrick was wearing a green t-shirt, black vest, blue jeans, black and green sneakers. Layla was wearing a blue tank top, jeans, glasses, and white sneakers. Dirk was wearing an orange long-sleeve shirt, blue cutoff jeans, and black work boots. And finally, Madeline was wearing a violet long-sleeve shirt, sky blue jeans, violet and white sneakers. And of course, reaching under their shirts were silver chains that ended in their respective crystals. Now let's switch up. Yeah! I've opted to make the executive decision to skip the hair dye. Walker smirked, looking over a glass cabinet filled with black stone figurines. His new lightless army, all assembled for him neatly. With an army such as this, each with their own unique powers and abilities, he was certain he could pick out one that could utterly destroy the Guardians of Gaia, thus winning the entirety of Gaia for the darkness. Why don't you just summon them all? Darkia asked, producing a one-handed stand with her sword, which was stuck in the ground. You don't realize how much energy that would require, do you? Walker countered. One lightless needs the darkness that makes up at least a dozen blots in order to be awakened. Then I need to keep it contained in the figurine so it isn't cancelled out. And if worse comes to worse, I need to be able to funnel enough darkness to make it grow. I'm still trying to reclaim the energy from using that Minotaur lightless earlier. So, you can only do one per day? Darkia inquired. That sounds pretty pathetic. If someone had taken the time to learn Shadowmancy, we could have more than that, Walker muttered. Yeah, when I feel like hanging around on the satellites and letting someone else have all the fun, I'll set you up on it, Darkia scoffed. Speaking of which, when am I going to get a shot at the new Guardians? Walker took one of the figurines out of the cabinet, looking it over. Patient sister, tomorrow we are going to pay a certain village of night elves a visit. You know the one. Darkia grinned, flipping off her sword and pulling it from the floor. About time. Nikki groaned, walking out into the garden chamber Jolwar had created for the ancient library. It was morning, and she had decided to check in with the old wizard. Sure enough, he was watering the plants. Apparently gardening was a hobby of his, alongside reading just about every book in the ancient library, of which there had to be thousands. Good morning, Michelle. Jolwar agreed happily, noticing upon her arrival. How did you and the others sleep? Ugh, it was awful, Nikki muttered, rubbing her eyes. Well, the bed's not to your liking, Jolwar asked. No, they were fine, Nikki said quietly. It's just that, well, first there was a debate on the sleeping arrangements, since everyone wanted to tell bunk. We ended up arm wrestling for them. Of course, me and Dirk won. But then Layla refused to sleep in the same bed with her sister, so Dirk gave up his bed and slept on the floor. Of course, then he started snoring. It took forever for any of us to get any sleep. I believe I have a few sets of earplugs in case you don't want them, Jolwar offered. Nikki has smiled. It's not just the snoring. It's us. We're not getting along as we should be. Jolwar cocked an eyebrow at this. How should you be getting along? I don't know. Like a team? Nikki replied. Take Madeline, for example. She still thinks of this like the crystallography club, and she should be in charge. Since that she's not a good decision maker. Oh, she just wants to do whatever she wants to, regardless of what the group thinks. She and Patrick are always getting on each other's nerves. And of course, her instincts constantly embarrass poor Layla. I see. Jolwar muttered, stroking his beard. So, I'm sure the rest get along just fine, correct? All I'm saying is that the Zords are clearly machines, Layla said, biting her sandwich at the KFC table. They've been programmed to behave like animals, but they probably don't feel pain. And I'm telling you, that's not it at all, Dirk insisted, taking a giant bite out of the sandwich. They may have the bodies of machines, but they are living creatures where it counts most, and we should be careful about using them in battle. Yes, because lots of animals have cockpits, manual controls, and combine into giant robots. Layla scoffed. And for some odd reason, my mind started thinking Magi Ranger in Mystic Force. Oh, and Lost Galaxy. Definitely Lost Galaxy. How does it work? I mean, they just grab the Transfigger and just stab it in, and then they become the robot modes. Yeah, well, Dirk started to carry with something click in his head. Wait, what? Layla rolled her eyes, pulling out the book that Delvar had been reading the day before, and opening it to a page showing the 5 Gaia swords so it combined into a single finger. See? It says here that the Gaia swords can combine into one superpowered robot that pulls the energy of all 5 swords. Patrick, who had been staying out this conversation and enjoying his cereal up till now, being ordered to read. Ah, I thought this was awesome. What's why we weren't told about that yesterday? It says here the Guardians can only combine the Zords by using a special crystal and keeping in sync as a team. Lila noted, looking concerned. No biggie, Malin interjected, eating some crackers. Under my leadership, we're a well-oiled fighting force of which neither world has ever seen. Yerza stared at Madeline like she was completely bonking insane. Dirk Curtis started saying, yeah, let's just hold back on the giant robot for a while. I mean, I doubt we're really needed. After all, we took out Bullface yesterday. Yeah, well, I get the feeling the next one's going to be a bit stronger than us holding its horns down, Pat pointed out. This isn't like high school wrestling, Dirk. Coming from the farm doesn't necessarily mean you're the biggest and baddest man to hit the mat here. Dick, there's not even a mat this time. Yeah? Dirk inquired with a chortle. Well, somehow, I don't think I'll be fencing, parkour, or meteorology classes either. So when you run out of ways to poke, dodge, or I don't know, outprotect stores, monsters, let me know when you need me to step in. Delvar sighed, sitting back, stroking his beard. I see. So then, the problem is all them. Nikki looked away, frowning sadly. No, it's me too. Me especially, actually. Delvar looked on inquisitively, so Nikki explained, resting her arms on the legs. I'm on the outside that makes everything immediately worse upon entering. Madeline feels threatened because the others look at me as a leader, which, for the record, I never asked for. I feel like, just by being here, I make everything automatically worse for the group. Delvar opened his mouth, looking to object. But he was cut off by an alarm going off in the main chamber. Sounds like trouble. Stopping his staff on the floor, Delvar immediately teleported the two into the main chamber of the ancient library, where the torches were roaring and the globe was highlighting a location of Gaia. Within moments, the others joined up with them, just as the globe zoomed in on a small village in the woods. There, a group of indigo-skinned elves was running for the bloods, while the warriors of their group took on the monsters with swords and bows. Oh dear, Delvar asserted. Sees the village of night elf runaways have been found. Night elf runaways? Layla inquired. When the darkness began consuming the other elements, there were those attuned to it that agree with such practices. Delvar explained, these night elves have been on the run for centuries. Don't think they'll be able to take care of the plots? Dirk asked. This was a close to the image of a were-lion likeness, stampeding the night elf warriors. I returned to my previous question. Let's get in there then, Nikki proclaimed. It's morphin' time! At this call, the team pulled their crystals from their chains, unholstered their crystal blast morphers, and inserted the crystals inside. Then, they raised their blasters skyward, pulling the triggers and yelling, Guardians of Gaia, awaken! The rainbow-colored blast shot out, spiraling around each other into the air, before doubling back and coating them with verity, the Ranger suits materializing over the Chloros. Put us there, Delvar! Malin exclaimed, to which the elderly lizard raised his staff and teleported the group to outside the village, behind the enemy lines. Let's back up the night elves, you guys! Nikki ordered. Crystal Blast Morphers! All 5 all ready their blasters and charged in, blasting down any plot that moved. Patrick shot one in the knee, breaking it down so he could get a running leap and off its shoulders, shooting every blot he passed before kicking one square in the eye. destroying it before he landed once where it stood. Seeing another dash towards him, the Green Ranger ran in close. It slid between his legs before throwing his arm back and shooting it down. The lights out, bots! Pat yelled triumphantly. Dirk gave a loud yell, clotheslining one blot down, before turning and doing the same to another one, trying to catch him off guard. Seeing 5 more head his way, the Orange Ranger grabbed the second one he clotheslined by the legs and swung at the group before firing a charge shot from his blaster, blowing the group away. And that's what I call getting her done! Dirk exclaimed. Whoa, excuse me! Layla cried, ducking and dodging between the bolts, while blasting as many as he could down. Eventually, though, one caught one luggage shot across the helmet, followed by several cloth shots that sent her flying back, sparks flying off her suit. Before hitting a small hut, though, the Blue Ranger managed to shoot said blots down, though she didn't have any chance to enjoy it as her back thudded against the wall of said hut, causing her to drop her crystal blade morpher and the more blots honed in on her. Any chance we can talk? Layla suggested, all the while waiting for them to get close enough to bring out her flood launcher and take them all down. The blots growled, running into attack, only to be caught up by a guard by a frenzy of blasts. Madeline charging in to wipe them all out. Sis, are you okay? I got it under control, Layla insisted, getting back up quickly and scooping up her blaster. Didn't look like it to me, Madeline argued, showing her random blot to the side. And even if you did, can you blame me for wanting to save my little sister? Yes, but you have better things to do, Layla shouted, blasting a blot charging at Madeline from over her older sister's shoulder. Suddenly, a blot was dropped from the roof without them, Nikki landing beside it. Girls, focus! That blot almost done you both! Hey, you're not the boss of me! Madeline yelled, turning her attention on the Red Ranger. I never said I was! Nikki shouted back. I just tried to keep everyone focused on getting the job done! Once their backs were turned, the 3 were quickly caught off guard as the Werelion Lightless charged past, slashing his claws across the Rangers and sending them tumbling to the ground. The girls quickly started to get back up, but were too slow to react as Lightness turned and slashed his claws forward, sending Black Aries slashes straight for them. The ensuing explosion destroyed the hut next to them and sent them crashing into nearby trees, knocking the wind out of them. Shoot! Dirk cursed as he and Patrick caught sight of them from a few yards away. Come on! We gotta get in there! Not today, a voice called, just as a gray-skinned woman in black and red armor leaped in, slashed them both to the ground with a rather nasty-looking sword. The 2 boys got back to their feet as the woman looked over them cockily. Are you supposed to be? Patrick asked. They call me Darkia, the woman replied. My brother Walker sends his best wishes. Great, can't wait to meet the rest of the family, Dirk said starkly, pressing his thumb to the shield elbow on his buckle. Quick axe! Stop the loss! Patrick yelled as he did the same. The 2 getting their weapons and charging Darkia. Fortunately, her strikes were too powerful for the Green Ranger, knocking his Stormlance loose and putting him down in the dirt with ease. She was too fast for the Orange Ranger, dodging his attacks like they were barely even there, and then catching him in the neck with the hilt of her blade, knocking him down. If you're done embarrassing yourselves, can we do this for real now? Darkia asked, giggling evilly. Meanwhile, things weren't doing much better for the girls. Madeline charged the Werelion Lightness with her blaster in one hand, Gaia saber in the other, only to be quickly kicked in the gut and knocked back to Nikki and Layla, both similarly armed. I told you not to! Nikki started to groan through her pain. Shut up! Madeline yelled, hitting her back. You know, for someone who isn't a leader, you sure bark out a lot of orders. The Red Ranger began to shout back before letting her soldiers slump, exasperated. Just hang back. I'll try to keep it so you guys can attack. Does it say, Nikki? Layla cried. At that close range, the claws can carry you apart. Let me worry about that, Nikki replied, putting a thumb to her buckle. Heat sabers! You know, I'm starting to think that this girl graduated from the Carter Ranger School of Awesome. Receiving her weapons, the Red Ranger let out a battle cry and charged the Werelion Lightness. She moved as swiftly as she could, trying to keep up with it. But at her fastest, Nikki only came slightly close to being as fast as a Werelion Lightless, taking a few slashes while trying to keep it in one place. She couldn't help but wince in pain, but tried her best to fight through it, only to get slashed so hard. She spun in midair, sparks sealing off her suit as she fell onto the ground. Nikki, stop it! Madeline screamed. That monster will destroy you! Have to keep fighting, Nikki groaned, talking to herself in slight delirium, slowly getting back to her feet. For the team, I have to do my part. So not just the outsider. Madeline blinked and saw it, overhearing these words. Is that what she thinks of herself as? Layla looked at her sister, like was blown away. That's wrong. That's so wrong. Madeline shook her head, pounding a fist to the ground. How could I not notice that? What kind of club leader can't tell when her members are getting down on themselves? Suddenly, Madeline's thought process was cut off as Nikki cried out in pain, having been thrown against a tree. Looking around, the Violet Ranger grabbed hold of her blaster and sword, only to stop for a second as he spotted Layla's, an idea forming in her head. Sis, come at me! Madeline asked, offering up her crystal blast morpher. Layla nodded, getting the idea of trading her saber for her sister's blaster. You got it! And now my thoughts are drifting to Go Kaiser. Yes! What? Go Kaiser's like one of my favorite Sentai. With both swords in hand, the Violet Ranger charged the Were-Lion Lightness, slashing across the arm as it was keeping Nikki pinned to the tree. Once free, Nikki swung her heat sabers along with Madeline's weapons. The monster still stunned from the last attack and unable to defend itself as it was forced back. Then they charged their weapons forward, Were-Lion accosting them in their massive claws. But Nikki and Madeline smirked as it fell into the trap. With his feet planted, the Lightless was quickly caught in twin charged shots of wire and lightning from Layla, sending it sailing through a nearby hut. Nikki fell to a knee, removing her helmet, catching her breath. That was a pretty good plan, Madeline. Telling the truth, Violet Ranger quickly demanded, pulling her old helmet off. Do you really think of yourself as the outsider in this team? Nikki frowned, cursing herself for saying that out loud. Well, the truth is, ever since I joined, you guys have been arguing a lot. I mean, with them thinking me as the leader. Madeline shook her head, putting a hand on the Red Ranger's shoulder. That's just us, though. We bicker all the time. Honestly, we're so used to it, it's kind of part of how we operate. As far as you being seen as leader, well, you do make pretty good calls to battle. Except for maybe this time. I guess I just let it get to me too much. Nikki admitted, getting back to her feet. Do me a favor. If I ever pull a stunt like that again, hit me. Hard. Madeline giggled, playfully punching Nikki in the shoulder. Deal. Hey, as sweet as this bonding session is, we should probably get back to fighting. Layla interjected. Just as the Were-Lion Lightless started to stir into rubble of the hut, he crashed her. The monster, that is. Nikki nodded, her and Madeline putting their helmets back on. Great. Let's show what our team can really do. At this time, a few yards away, Dirk was trying to get a good shot on Darkia with his Quake Axe, only to get parried and knocked back into Patrick with ease, the two getting tired out. Dang it! I know I could do some damage with my Quake Axe if I could just hit her! Pat nodded, looking to his storm lance, when an idea popped in his head. Hey, how about the old switcheroo out of Yope? Dirk smiled. You're on! The two gripped their weapons, Patrick charging out in front of Dirk as Darkia prepared to knock the Ranger Ranger aside, only for Pat to split his lance in half and toss the pieces over his shoulder, while Dirk leaped up and tossed the Quake Axe high in the air. Orange Ranger did grab both halves of the lance as he passed over Pat and brought them down to an X onto Darkia's sword, causing her to stumble back. Patrick then leaped over Dirk, landing on his weapons as Dirk used it to shovel straight into the air. The Green Ranger quaking into Quake Axe and bringing it down on Darkia's armor, knocking her one way and her sword the other. Nice shot! Dirk commented, the two switching weapons back. Man, how did you swing that thing around all the time? Pat asked, shaking his wrist. You should see my Uncle Larry's sledgehammer, Big Ten. Dirk replied, after dogging after Darkia. Lightning daggers! Madeline yelled a few yards away, slashing her electrified daggers across the Were-Lion Lightness and causing it to stumble back. Flood launcher! Layla shouted, opening her fire with her cannon and knocking the monster back into the tree. Heat bow! Nikki called, combining her heat sabers to a bow form. The arrow materialized in her right hand, which she pulled back, the newly formed string on the bow, firing at the Lightless. Unfortunately, the arrow missed, but it did hit the tree monster it was backed against, blowing it up and sending the beast stealing through the air, crashing right next to Darkia. What? Wow. I'm actually really impressed by this. I don't know if this is a callback, but in Jaka, the second Ranger series, and of the 1970s Super Sentai series. It's my personal favorite. Yes, I prefer that over Go Ranger. Spade Ace actually uses a bow and arrow as his weapon. He's one of the few Reds that don't actually use the sword. So, I don't know if this is the author's way of doing a callback to Jaka, or if he's even seen Jaka, but I'm impressed by this because this is awesome. Oops, Nikki said, feeling embarrassed. Remind me to help you with your aim, Layla muttered. I specialized in karate and fencing, not archery, Nikki commented, as the two of them rushed up to meet Madeline, Patrick, and Dirk quickly following. You brats! Darky groaned, she and the monster getting back up. Who do you think we are? Okay. Hero... No. Ron Wasserman's Unite. That song is freaking awesome. What do we tell her, guys? Now it's suggested, the five forming up. Going in a fire! Nikki yelled as the red ember light surrounded her around her. Red Gaia Ranger! Gaia of the wind, Patrick called. A green light whipped up like a gust of wind. Green Gaia Ranger! Gaia of water. Gaia shouted as a blue light splashed over her like water. Blue Gaia Ranger! Guardian of Earth! Dick roared as the orange light came out the dirt and sand and wind. Orange Gaia Ranger! Guardian of Lightning! Madeline called as a violet light crackled around her like her tizzy. Violet Gaia Ranger! The five struck a group pose as silver flasks came around them, followed by five rainbow-colored explosions. Power Rangers! Guardians of Gaia! Let's bring it together, Nikki ordered, the five bringing their weapons together in an assembled cannon form. Gaia Blaster! The Rangers yelled, keeping it held up and aiming the cannon to where light lightness. Fire! Now, you see, people, this is how you do a roll call. After a little character development, some awesome stuff happening, this is when you realize that this is a team. When you get them to do the roll call beautifully, and they all fire the blast together. I love my job. Lila pulled the trigger, sending a five-pointed blast of fire, wind, water, earth, and lightning into Werelight and Lightness. The monster was hit by the beams, collapsing in a gigantic explosion that slit a wisp of black smog in the air. Darky had been knocked away by the shockwave. The Dark Warrior growled, getting back to the knee. You think this is over? Darky had demanded as the five disassembled the Gaia Blaster. Arranged themselves for round two. Only for Darky to look straight up and scream, Walker! Walker gave a small smirk, watching everything in the black flames of the fireplace. Not so easy, is it, sister? No matter. Dark staff of wyvern, make my lightness grow! The Soundmaster lifted his staff over the fireplace. The wyvern head on top of the opening, its jaws spewing a black smog of foam into fire, causing it to grow larger. Walker watched as the image in the flames as black smog but the night elf grew, fed the dark flames, causing the Werelion Lightless to reform as a giant, its power fully restored. Feel lucky I didn't make you grow, sister, Walker scoffed, watching on. Rangers watched as the monster was suddenly brought back to its giant form. Nikki drawing her Gaia Saber. Guess they never learn. We need Gaia Sword power! Now! The five called out, inserting their crystals into their sabers and racing through the sky. The sabers sent out beams of light through the sky, eventually settling on five locations. The Phoenix Sword took off from the top of a tall mountain. The Hippogriff Sword came barreling out of a cluster of Zords. The Leviathan Sword raced itself out of a lake and slithered across the land. The Behemoth Sword came chasing out of a tall, dense forest. Finally, the Thunderbird Zord came swooping out of a dark thundercloud. Let's do it! Nikki yelled, leaping up onto her Gaia Sword, as did the others. The five were all caught in beams of light, bringing them into the cockpits of their Zords. Rangers, lock on! Nikki ordered, inserting her weapons into their slots. Patrick here, feeling lucky, Patrick responded. Leia here, all systems are go, Leia replied. This is Dirk, ready to kick some butt? Dark sighed. This thing has a stereo? Mallow exclaimed. How did I not notice that before? Well, you see, it's tradition. All Pink Ranger Zords all come with all come with their own very own stereo. If a Pink Ranger is not present, it usually falls into the hands of whatever Chick Ranger there is. Trust me, it's tradition. Yes, this is true even for Wild Force. Aisha has the stereo. No, I am not a Power Rangers fanboy. The Phoenix Sword let out a screech. Lassie had fireballs from his mouth. However, the Waver was too fast. Running through the fire of the flames further they could scorch it. The Leviathan Sword managed to coil itself around it, but the monster quickly slashed itself off with the claws, sending it rolling across the ground. Whoa! I'm getting dizzy! Lila cried, trying to right her sword. Hang on, sis! Mallow shouted. Thunderbird's got you covered! The Thunderbird sword cawed loudly, firing blasts of lightning from its eyes, forcing the rare-lying lightness to black off. The behemoth sword stomped over, launching the tips of its horns as missiles at the monster, only for them to get swatted away. But we were able to distract the lightless just long enough for the hippogriff to swoop in and stomp its host to its face, knocking it to the ground. Fortunately, it wasn't down for long as it quickly got back to its feet and sent black slashes to the hippogriff, Phoenix, and Thunderbird Zords, grounding them. Turret! We're not doing enough damage. We gotta do something! Come on, man. Rip at the sucker! Pat yelled back. All we got to do is hold his claws and wrestle it to the ground! Dirk smirked. Nice. But I'm thinking something with a bit more finesse needs to be needed. I was thinking of something like gripping up and wiping the floor with his lightless. Mallow nodded. Me too. Me three, Nikki said. Let's give it everything we got! Suddenly, a shimmering light appeared before Nikki in the cockpit. Reaching up, she grabbed a hold of it, revealing a crystal made up of all 5 of their colors. At that exact moment, the same thing happened with the others, who all took hold of their new crystals. Whoa, what are these? Dirk asked. Rangers. The group heard Jaguar declared over the comm. They are the Unity crystals. By providing your ability to think and operating as a team, you've earned these new crystals. Use them together, and the souls will combine as one. Nikki thought it over for a second before opening the compartment of her Gaia saber and removing her crystal. Let's do it, guys! Right! The others called, removing their crystals from their sabers before they all inserted their Unity crystals. Gaia swords, combine! The 5 swords all called out, charging forward. Its behemoth sword lifted to the air, its body tilting it to resemble a giant torso of sorts. Its head now covering its chest. The Leviathan sword twisted its body around before most of its body lifted up to latch onto the behemoth sword. Its head and end tail forming the right and left feet, while the rest formed the hips and legs. The Phoenix and Thunderbird swords cawed as they curled their wings and talons in, forming the right and left arms of the giant robot, as human-like hands emerged from their beaks. Finally, the Hippogriff sword landed on the back, spreading its wings out, and resting its head on top of the robot, its beak opening wide to reveal the humanoid head inside. The 5 Rangers found their cockpits, slaying back to the head, becoming one large cockpit. Gaia Megazord! Power up! People, it all comes down to this sometimes. Sometimes, even the worst Sentai Power Ranger series can be redeemed if you got an awesome mega. Luckily for me, this is a great Ranger series. And the only way you can make a great Ranger series even better is if you have an awesome mecha. I like this baby. Although I can only imagine that if I were to buy the toy of it, I would be going crazy trying to make the Zord. The Werelion Light swore as its foes the united form, which stood as tall as it was now. It ran in close and slashed the Megazord hard across the chest, causing it to take a single step back, but leaving the robot generally unharmed. You fool! Don't you realize Rule 1 of Megazords? When it has its first appearance, the Megazord is indestructible and invincible. You gotta wait for its second appearance before you can actually do any damage. Our turn! Dark yelled. Hit it, girls! Phoenix pick! Nikki called, the Megazord giving the Lightless a right hook filled with fire in his face. Thunder Claw! Now a shot as the guy's sword followed up with a left hook, nearly to rail her face with an electricity field punch. Leviathan bite! Gaia cried, while the Gaia Megazord spinning on his left foot before delivering a roundhouse kick with the right. Leviathan's jaws filled with ice that bit down on the monster as it connected. Where lying lightless crashed to the ground, rolling to his knees as he tried to get it up. "Alley you, Pat?" Dirk asked, getting a nod from the Green Ranger. "Let's tame this lion," Patrick suggested as the Hippogriff's wings spread out wide. The Gaia Megazord leaping up and sailing through the air, slid down to the lightness, power flowing into his fist from all 5 Zords. "Sword punch!" The 5 called as the Gaia Megazord slammed the monster with a flying double punch of fire and lightning, sending the lightness sailing through the air before crashing and rolling across the ground. I always prefer Megazords having swords as weapons and having sword finishers, but I do like it but let's not never say there's nothing to be said about originality. Then again, my favorite finisher of all time, it will always be the Gekisoso Gaia from the Turbo Megazord. Finally, after a few moments, it collapsed in a massive explosion, black spark rising up to the sky before it dissolved into nothingness. "All right!" Madeline's here as the 5 hooped up and hollered, exchanging high fives and fist bumps. "You do this again, rucker!" Nikki shouted, hoping the shouting master could hear her. Walker sat in his chair, watching as his sister limped in. Her armor had dents and dings all over, her sword covered in scratches. She had a scar over her right eye that was only just now beginning to heal with dark energies. She sat in her own chair, opposite of her brother, trying not to match his glance. Walker just folded his arms, tapping his finger on his elbow. "Go ahead," Darker said. "I'm not fixing your armor," Walker told her. "Also, you're going to learn Salamancy, even if it destroys you." To be fair, the only one out there because of teamwork," Darkia replied, squirming a little. "And I just think if we were to work on our teamwork a bit in the field—" "I will raise our mother and get her to let you learn Salamancy," Walker threatened. "Well, I still feel like hitting the books," Darkia proclaimed, and getting up and walking over to a stack of books as quickly as she could. Nikki sighed, lying her head against her pillow, resting in bed. After a hard day's work, both repelling the bad guys and helping the night aves right the force field around their village, she was glad to finally call it a night. She looked around the beds about her. As Patrick laid in the one beneath her, Dirk was on the top bunk across from her. Layla and Madeline stared at the bed beneath him. It seemed just as Madeline said. Yes, they bickered and fought a lot, to the point where people on the outside looking in might think they hated each other. But they were honestly the best of friends when it mattered most. "Makes me envious," Nikki admitted, getting everyone's attention. "You guys, you can be so hostile towards one another. It doesn't even help touch how close you are. Never had a group of friends that tight." "Well, Ferris Leda, I guess it hasn't occurred to you already. You'll do it now." Patrick corrected, only be stunned when Leia threw a pillow at his head. "What the—" "Madeline didn't have a clear shot," Leia said quickly, looking apologetic as Madeline laid back her arms across her head, smirking cockily. "That's it," Patrick said, smiling deviously as he got out of bed and belly flopped onto the bed across from him. "Hypocrite, flop!" "Do I need to separate you two?" Nikki demanded, trying to hold back the giggles as Patrick and Madeline engaged in the wimpiest slap fest he had ever seen. "You know you wanna." Nikki smiled, getting out of the bed and scurrying down to the steps of the bunk beds to get in the middle of the two, holding them apart by their ears. From the other side of the door, Jarwal listened to the 5 in their antics, chuckling to himself as he knew they'd be all right. He walked back to the main chamber, suddenly stopping as he entered, stroking his beard as the thought struck his mind. 5 of them, he wondered. But there were 6 guardians in ancient times, wasn't there? I suppose there could be a mistake. But if there was a 6th guardian, then what became of their crystal? Drayden groaned as he felt the conscious world come back to him. He dragged himself back to his feet, feeling something in his hand. The indigo crystal had been embedded in the dragon statue. He looked around, seeing himself on dark stone in the middle of a dense gray fog. Father nowhere to be seen. The ground was littered with dull-looking crystals. Sticking out of it was a large 2-handed sword. The hilt was emblazoned with a dragon's eye. "Hello?" he called out, not noticing an ink-black figure emerge from behind a sword on the ground. "Is anybody out there?" "Okay, dude. You literally have a few choices when it comes to being the 6th Ranger. You can either A, be really distant, B, be hyper energetic and happy to join the team. C, be all serious and mopey, but have a kind heart. Or C, be bad guy first, then hero character. Though, I have to be honest, I'm kind of a little shocked here, that the Phoenix Sword in Nikki's blade is the right arm. Most of the time, the Yalir forms the body. I say most of the time, not always. There's a few Ranger series where that doesn't happen. I'm trying to remember which ones, but I do know it's not always. I mean, on Wild Force, it's the Condor Sword that forms the head. Chapter 4. Just communication. Lena smiled, wiping the sweat from her brow. Oh, almost forgot the introduction. One has to wonder how the Gaians, having existed so long ago, had advanced technology, the likes of which they used to create the Gaia sword and the rest of the Guardian's equipment. Still, a more intriguing thought I've had for many years was whether a modern human mind, filled with the knowledge of all the technological wonders we achieved, would be a benefit or detriment to such technology. As he admired her handiwork. Sure, it took her most of the night to finish them, but she did it. 5 silver bracelets, each with a maroon-colored crystal embedded in them, and the Phoenix emblem carved around the crystals. The Phoenix had 2 smaller gems for eyes, one yellow, one blue. This was just the kind of accessory the team had needed since arriving in Gaia. And now, they had them. It was going to make their work much easier. Morning, sis! Malin called as she and the others entered the main chamber of the interlibrary. Is that project of yours finished? Leo smiled. You bet. Check them out. The other 4 walked over to see the bracelets. Dirk scratching his head in confusion. So, what are these for? Those bracelets are fixed with communication crystals, Telra declared, entering the room. They will allow you to keep in contact with each other and myself, no matter where you are in Gaia. I also had Telra enchant the bracelets themselves with his teleportation spell. Gaia continued, setting one of the bracelets on her wrist. Now, no matter where we are, we can teleport to each other, to the ancient library, and anywhere else we want. Although the latter requires that someone be here to select some location on the globe. Zora noticed the others all took one of the bracelets and put them on. Awesome! Mal exclaimed, can't wait to try them out in the field. You know, we should probably do a quick test with these right away, Patrick pointed out. Well, things are relatively quiet. Good idea, Nikki commented. Who wants to play guinea pig? Dirk scratched his chin, thinking. Here's a nice simple test. How about I stand on the other end of the room, then teleport to you guys? Sounds simple enough, Leo replied. Just picture the person you want to teleport to, then press the yellow gem. You know, guys, it's been a long time since we had teleportation devices. Oh no, you Mario Ranger fans don't get it. Back in the old days, Power Rangers could use to teleport all over the place. But nowadays they just have these really cool bikes or Zords flying all over the place. Or drive a car. You guys don't get it. Dirk gave a quick thumbs up, then running over to the other end of the room. Once there, he did as instructed, creating a mental image of Nikki in his mind, then pressing the yellow gem. In an instant, he found himself being transported as a great orange ray of light. However, instead of appearing next to Nikki, he found himself teleporting atop the tall bookshelves to her right, several feet above the group. Dirk gave a quick yelp, nearly tumbling off the shelves and having to cling to it keep from falling. Oh shoot! Layla cried. That wasn't supposed to happen. You think? Dirk shouted from atop the bookshelves. Someone get me down! Hang on, Dirk! Nikki yelled, running to grab one of the ladders to use for the reaching of the higher books. Layla sighed, slumping back into her chair. Back to square one, I guess. Darkhair groaned, being forcibly handed the dark staff by the wyvern by her brother. You sure this is a good idea? Quit complaining and try it already, Walker insisted as a group of blocks formed up before her. One of them was holding a lightless figurine, shaking rather nervously as it and its group were summoned to become the test subjects of Darkhair's first attempt at awakening a monster. Darkhair gulped, holding his staff up. All right then, dark staff of Weaver and funnel the darkness. Awaken the lightless from its slumber! Concentrating hard, Darkia could feel the staff bend the dark heresies of the blots to her will. Soon, all but the blots holding the figure were turned into black vapor. It was just pouring his figurine. Then it rose up out of the blot's hands and melted onto his face, causing it to grow a bit until his body forced down into dark smog. It was an ant, with 2 stick-like legs, 4 narrow but powerful arms, sharp-looking mandibles, and a pair of antennae that emitted a dark light from their tips. "Aha!" Darkia cried. "I did it." Rocker rolled his eyes. "Yes, you may so liken an ant. That's far and away from the sort of legendary creatures I've been sending against the Power Rangers." Darkia smiled darkly. "Oh, dear brother, you have no idea what this ant is capable of. I can assure you, what it lacks in legendary stature and feats, it more than makes up for in raw power. Something the Rangers are going to learn very soon." The ant lightless roared, flexing its arms and gritting its mandibles. "Let me work at those weaklings in the light. I'll make my colony out of the holes they call towns." Nikki let out a hard sigh as she entered the main chamber from her workout. A towel draped over the back of her neck. She looked over at Layla, still working at the bracelets. She had been at this for nearly 11 hours now, with only occasional drinks and snacks to keep her fueled. If she didn't get some sleep soon, she was going to collapse, and Nikki knew this. Madeline, who was sitting near Nikki while reading a book on Gaia crystals, quickly caught her glance, putting a hand on Nikki's shoulder and shaking her head. "Forget it," she said. "Doesn't matter what you say to her. She will not stop. Trust me, I know my sis like the back of my hand. And once she gets to working and fancying something, no one and nothing can keep her from achieving her goal, especially after a mess up like earlier." Nikki sighed. "I get that the communications didn't quite work, but—" "No, you don't get it," Madeline cut her off. "Sure, Dirk wound up on the bookshelves, and even he thinks it was hilarious in retrospect. But to Layla, all she can think about is how she could have turned out so much worse. I mean, far as she knows, he could have materialized inside the bookshelves. Could have been buried underground. He could have had his body merged with yours as some sort of freaking Nikki Dirk hybrid looking." "Okay, I get it," Nikki insisted, holding up her hands and looking ill. "Thanks for the nightmare fuel. I may never sleep again after that." Suddenly, the torches from around the room began burning much brighter as the alarm went off throughout the ancient library. Within seconds, Dirk, Patrick, and Jalwar entered the room, Jalwar going to observe the viewing globe. Said globe showed the image of a group of centaur knights outside a town with tall stone walls erected around it, attempting to fight off a horde of blots marching towards the giant doors leading inside. Elven archers were attempting to keep the blots at bay, but they kept coming, while the elves were running low on arrows. "Those blots won't stop!" Patrick said. "Where the heck are they coming from?" "The blots in that area have always been in large number, to an imbalance of light and darkness as I pass through there," Jalwar explained. "Of course, the defenses for that town have always been able to repel them. It seems that the shell monsters are granting the blots additional numbers for one big attack." "Walker and Darkia," Nikki observed. "Guess they haven't learned we're not going anywhere anytime soon." Lena sighed, getting up from the table. "Fine! I can finish these when I get back." Nikki nodded. The 5 gained the formation as Jalwar teleported to the dust behind the Sartar Knights, trying to fight out the blood hordes. "Let's take them out, guys! It's morphin' time!" The team ran forward, pulling the crystals from their chains and unholstering their crystal blast morphers. As they erased the centaurs, they leaped up and flipped off their backs, inserted the crystals into their blasters, pulling the triggers while yelling, "Guardians of Gaia! Awaken!" The rainbow-colored blast shot out, knocking the lead bots away, before twisting back around and coating the team with their energy, the razor suits materializing as they landed on the ground. "God, I love a quick morph!" "Guardian of Nikki started to yell before Dirk grabbed her by the arms. Whoa. Maybe we should wait for these guys to get out from behind us?" Nora's razor suggested, hiking a thumb at the centaurs behind them. "How come?" Mal inquired. "Well, because of the random flashes and explosions," Dirk suggested, getting on loose from everyone. "You aren't honestly going to tell me that you never noticed. Come on. Every time we do our roll call, there are all these lights that go off around us, followed by these gigantic explosions. How come I'm the only one to notice that?" Hi, Ziggy over here. I kind of noticed them too. I've asked questions about them all the time, but nobody seems to answer me. Nobody seems to tell me about them. But, well, hey, at least Flynn, At least Flynn knew how to properly use them. At least Flynn knew how to use them properly. Guess it just never registered with me, Patrick admitted, rubbing the back of his helmet as the centaurs cleared out from behind him. Vic, I will love you forever if you pull off Flynn's I'm Scottish maneuver! How can you not notice the 5-story explosives going off and just missing your butt? Dirk demanded. Actually, if you're bokeh red, they don't exactly miss you. Only you Sentai fans are going to get that joke. But trust me, it's one of my favorite Bokenger episodes. Guys, they're forming up! Layla pointed out. Horse and plots are getting their bearings. So are a lot of them. Oh god. You're not. Tell me you're not. Nikki observed it, he got a very good idea. See, Dirk, how big are these explosions? Dirk smirked. Getting where she was going. Very big. That's all I needed to hear. I'm grinning like a madman. A ranger yelled, flipping into the middle of the group of blokes. Going on fire! Wake up, Ranger! The disc cried. A series of red ember lights burned around her, scorching the blots that gathered nearby. Nearest smiles, they leaped into their own packs of blots, keeping a fair distance from each other. Gaia the Lind called as the green whirlwind of lights whipped up, blocking the large spot. The Lind Ranger! Guardian of Water! Gaia shouted as the blue warrior light sunk the bullets down. Blue Gaia Ranger! Guardian of Earth! Dirk roared as orange like sand came off the dirt, stung the blots in their eyes. Orange Gaia Ranger! Guardian of Lightning! Valen called as firelight crackled around the blots like lightning. Violet Gaia Ranger! The 5 all struck a group pose as a large silver flash of light came up around them, followed by 5 rainbow-colored explosions that sent the blots flying in every direction. Power Rangers! Guardians of Gaia! People, give the Ran a hand. That was beautiful. I should let you know, RPM is my favorite season. Well, 1 of 3. And that was one of my favorite parts when Flynn uses the explosions like a boss. So, now we see why Rangers tend to be able to do their roll calls without any problems. Because they know how to weaponize the cow explosions! Gaia Sabers! Nikki yelled, the Rangers drawing their sword blade arms. The Red Ranger immediately went to work slashing, shooting, and kicking anything that looked like a bad Rorschach test that came near her. Finally, one caught her blade, only for her to leap up, kick another blot in the eye, shoot 2 more before landing her feet. Ray taking her blade and stabbing the last blot in the eye, destroying it. Looking ahead, she spotted Leia doing her best to find out blots. Still not quite used to close quarter combat, losing her grip on her Gaia saber. Hang on, Leia! Nikki cried, leaping over and tossing her blaster to Blue Ranger. Gaia began unloading the blast of fire and water blasts. Nikki scooped up on her fallen Gaia saber, still looking around until she spotted Patrick and ducking around weaving foes. Pat! Slits up! Green Ranger nodded, tossing his crystal blast morpher over as she threw her Gaia saber to them. The two caught each other as weapons, Patrick spinning and cutting with the dual swords while Nikki slashed and blasted the blots down. Layla wrapped up the last of the blots around the 3, but laying down fire on their foes, taking them all down. Remind me to add that to our strategy memos back at the base, Layla said as the 3 gave each other proper weapons back. Meanwhile, Madeline and Dirk were cleaning up their group of blots, sending several more rain for the hills. As if they were starting to feel good about that, though. The blots began to form up around a much larger monster, marching towards the 2. Its forearms and flexing and mandibles pinching together threateningly. So, these are the Power Rangers I heard about, Aunt Lightless demanded, and people call ants little insects. Aunt Lightless? Madeline inquired. Huh, that's different. Oh well, let's kick its butt! Madeline, wait! Dirk cried as the Violet Ranger charged the monster. If it's like absolute ants, it could probably kill. Lightning daggers! Madeline shouted, ignoring the Orange Ranger and lunging at the monster. Unfortunately, she was quickly caught in Aunt Lightless's hands by her wrists, and ankles was raised up in the air. He had to slash his mandibles across her front, tossed her to the ground, and right back to where he started. The Violet Ranger groaned as he felt herself demorphing, suit dematerializing, and lift around 50 times its own body weight. Dirk finished, helping his friend back up. Had a lot of ants on the farm that steal grain for the animals. Noted. Now grunted, wincing. Sis! Leo screamed as the others joined the two. Are you alright? Please, like that thing could hurt me. You jerk! Leo shouted, looking to the monster. I'm gonna squash that bug! Flood! Monster! The Blue Ranger brought out her massive blaster, opening fire on the ant lightless with tidal wave blast of energy. To her shock, the monster just held his hands out, actually casting the blast before shoving them back at the group, knocking them all into their backsides. Natalie groaned, getting back to her feet and firing her crystal blast morpher, returning to her morph state. Guys, let's try the Gaia blaster! No! Layla yelled, holding her sister back. That thing's too strong. It'll send it right back to us. Well, you're the smart one. You figure out how to get a hit in. Now suggested. Layla stammered. I don't know. Darky grinned evilly, watching everything unfold with her brother in black flames in the fireplace. Alright, now for phase 2. We make the lightless and flats grow. Then, they can just squish the town and the Rangers flat! Walker blinked, confused. Wait, why didn't we just open with that? Duh! I'll reuse some energy! I don't know. Darky admitted. Whatever, just do it. Whatever. Darker growled, raising his staff over the fireplace. Dark staff out of Wyvern. Make our forces grow! The Wyvern head atop the Walker's staff opened his jaw, spewing up thick black smog and out into the fire, causing it to grow larger. Walker and Darky laughed evilly as the flame burned harder and brighter, filling the Lightless's air as he spun out into the field of battle. The Lightless roared as a black cloud formed overhead, falling black flames to its body that caused it to grow in size and power. Life-size, several blots were caught in the flame, turning from an army of several dozen smaller blots into 4 sized ones. The giant monsters growled menacingly at the Rangers, who immediately backed off, pulling out their crystals from their morphers and placing them in their Gaia sabers instead. We need Gaia sword power! Now! The team yelled, raising their swords to the sky. Let's face Gaia sword power up! Nikki called, her saber releasing a red stream of light from a nearby mountain. Red Fang sword taking out from the top with flames in our wings. Delete Hypocrite's Gaia sword! Power up! Patrick shouted, a green beam firing from his sword into nearby clouds, the Hypocrite's sword barely rolling out of them. Bluefying Gaia sword! Power up! Layla exclaimed, her Gaia saber releasing a blue blast into the lake, the flying sword lifting its neck out of the water and roaring. Gorge's behemoth Gaia sword! Power up! Dirk yelled, his sword launching an orange beam out into the forest, and the behemoth sword stomping out with his massive legs. Violet Thunderbird Gaia sword! Power up! Malice summoned, sending a violet stream of light out of her sword to create a thundercloud in the sky. The Thunderbirds sidling out of them. Let's get him! Nikki shouted, leaping out to her Gaia sword as the others did their own. 5 were all caught in beams of light by their swords, teleporting directly into the Gaia sword cockpits. Rangers, lock on! Nikki ordered, plunging her weapons into their slots. Green Ranger, very lucky, Patrick replied. Blue Ranger, all systems are go! Orange Ranger, ready to action. I'm the exterminator, and I'll be back, Madeline joked. Madeline, don't change. The 5 Gaia swords split up, going for their respective targets. The Thunderbird surged, flapped its wings hard, firing thunderbolt-like feathers from its wings and destroying one blot. Just as the Phoenix sword blew the one next to it away with fireballs from its beak. Violent's sword used its long body to ramp out the remaining 2 blots, giving the Hypocrite's sword a chance to swoop down and stomp its hose into his eyes, destroying both. All bloods down and out, Nikki noted. Dirk, how are you handling the monster? Not so great! Dirk replied as the ant lightless actually lifted the behemoth sword up by the ground by its horns, swinging it around like a rag doll. Getting a little airsick! Ah! The ant lightless laughed. Your behemoth sword is just an overgrown cow! I am a real powerhouse. Hang on, Duck! Pat yelled, sending the Hypocrite's sword into an Elion roll that created a whirlwind around itself, steering it for the ant lightless. To his astonishment, though, the monster simply reached out with one of its arms to punch the Hypocrite's sword in the beak, knocking it back before finally dropping the behemoth sword. Next. Gladly, Nikki answered. The Phoenix sword cutting itself in flames before swooping down at the monster, only to have its wings cut into the opponent's lower arms. Thunderbird's sword opened fire with its fireballs firing from its eyes, yet lightless, swatting him away with his remaining hands. However, with his attention distracted, the Leviathan's sword was able to blast it with icy breath. The Phoenix sword likewise heaving flames from its beak into its front. This combination was enough to cause the monster to release the Phoenix sword. I've had enough of this ant! Malin shouted. Let's make it wish it never crawled out of its colony. Rangers, power up your Unity crystals! Nikki ordered, pressing her buckle and calling forth a rainbow-colored crystal. Right! The Rangers shouted back as they brought out their own Unity crystals, switching out the crystals to their sabers for them. Gaia swords, combine! The 5 Gaia swords immediately formed up. The Behemoth sword, twisting its body around to form the torso of the Mega sword. The Leviathan sword latched onto the Behemoth sword, becoming the hips, legs, and feet. The Phoenix sword and Thunderbird swords curled around its wings and talons in, forming the right and left arms and hands. Last of all, the Hippogriff sword landed on its back, wings spread out, resting its head atop the robot, its beak opening it to form the head. The 5 Rangers in the cockpit slid back to the head, becoming one bigger cockpit. Gaia Megazord, power up! The 5 yelled, the giant robot coming to life. Give me your best shot, Power Rangers. Yeah, shouted, looking undaunted. Thunder Call! Malin called, the Gaia Megazord throwing a left hook, only for the ant lightless to block with the electrical punch. Leviathan bite! Leia cried, the Thunder Megazord spinning its left foot before throwing down a roundhouse to the right. The ant lightless again blocking by holding the Leviathan sword's icy claws Joe. And then it grabbed the other arm and leg in unoccupied hands, lifting the giant robot off the ground with relative ease. Then it opened its mandibles wide, looking to bring them down on the Gaia Megazord's neck. Not this time. Patrick shouted, "Do not gust!" The Gaia Megazord's eyes suddenly flared a pair of green, swirling hairy beams, cutting across the ant lightless's face. The monster released the Gaia Megazord, stumbling back in pain as the Rangers finally managed to get a shot in. Beam of Zuka! Zerk roared. The Behemoth swords opened on the chest of the Megazord, laying loose an orange orb of energy that ran to the ant lightless hard. Set the monster back quite a ways before the lightless finally got all 4 hands under the orb and tossed it in the air, where it exploded energy. Dang it, those 4 arms are too much, Dick cursed, pounding his console. Yeah, well, it may have 4 arms, but there's 5 of us, Malin insisted. Leo blinked as a light bulb suddenly went off in her head. The 5 of us. Guys, disassemble the Megazord! What? Patrick exclaimed. The Megazord's the only thing bigger and bad enough to take this guy. No, we're too big, Leia carried. We're too big of a target, and against something that can toss us around like a sack of rusty nails, that's not helping. But 5 targets instead of 1, with even less power, we might be able to do what we can't as 1 target. Gotcha. Patrick and Nikki said with a smile. Let's each take an arm. And then, as Dirk lines up the final shot. See, that is better than anything I could come up with. Malin exclaimed. Told you so. Uh-huh. Let's just blow this thing so we can go home, Dirk said with a chuckle. Gaia Megazord, power down! The Rangers yelled. The giant robot separated into 5 smaller Zords. When the ant light was stunned by this move, the Gaia swords rusted with their best attacks. The monster threw his fist out, looking to swat them all away, but at the last second, Phoenix, Thunderthird, Leviathan, and Hippogriff swords all opened their jaws wide, bit down on the ant lightless's hands. God! The ant lightless roared in pain. What are you doing? Finishing you off, Nikki replied as the 4 swords slowly advanced to pull the arms apart from each other. Dirk, now! You got it! Dirk yelled. I've had enough of this monster's antics. No, just no. Bad, Dirk. Bad. Go stand in your corner. The Behemoth sword roared, firing the tips of its horns like missiles at the ant lightless. The monster tried to intercept one of his mandibles, only for them to be blown clean off into ensuing twin explosions. It stumbled backwards as the Rangers released it, black mist and embers pouring from where its mandibles had been. What the? Nikki stammered. What's happening to it? Walker's eye twitched, turning to face his soldier, as his very angry frown across his face. Darkia. Darkia gave a nervous grin, scratching the back of her head. Yeah. Even the energy contained in the lightless was pretty hard. Then I found out how tough the ant lightless's mandibles were, so I kind of started them all in. I didn't really think to get past the arms and hit them, though. You idiot! Walker shouted, knocking her on the head with his staff. How could you? Quick, while it's weakened, Nikki ordered. Gaia Megazord, Sword Punch! The Gaia Swords all leaped into the air, recombining into the Gaia Megazord before swooping down the Ant Lightless. The Gaia robot leveling it with two hard punches filled with fire and lightning, sending it crashing into the ground before a giant wisp of flames poured out of its body, causing it to shrink down to size. It groaned as it got back to its feet, looking to make a getaway, only for the Rangers to suddenly drop down its path. It's payback time, Nikki declared, bringing out her heat bow. Let's bring it together! The rest of the team immediately got down their own weapons at this command. Dirk set his quick axe blunt end down on Layla's flood launcher. Nikki's heat bow connecting between the two. Patrick connected the two halves of his sword lance. He and Madeline connecting them and her daggers onto the bow. Gaia Blaster! The Rangers yelled, holding the massive weapon up and aiming at the Lightless, who was holding his hands out defensively. Fire! Pulling the trigger, Layla fired a massive rainbow-colored blast at their 5 elements at the monster. Despite its best attempts to hit the light black, the Ant Lightless loss of power made it all too easy for the beams to make it through and blast it hard in the chest, causing it to collapse in a large explosion. A black cloud of smoke rose up from where its body once stood, quickly evaporating the air with a final cry of, I was supposed to be a real powerhouse! Sorry, but there's more to fighting than pure power, Layla replied as the group pulled their weapons apart. It takes brains! You listening, Myken? Yes, it does, Walker nodded, turning away from the fireplace. Something you lack, Darkia. No more Lightless for you. Darkia moaned, still down to a knee, clutching her head. Yeah, well, your monsters haven't done much better. I'd like to see you beat the Rangers next time. Walker smirked evilly, glancing over his shoulder. Oh, you still haven't figured it out. How sad. Figure out what out? Darkia demanded, getting back to her feet. That little experiment was just a means of collecting data on the Rangers. Walker explained, walking over the cabin filled with Lightless figurines, their weapons, tactics, and their adaptability on the field. Now I have their every move committed to memory. Darkia scoffed. Yeah, a lot of good that does someone who never got into a fight once in their life. True, true. Walker admitted, opening the cabinet and pulling out a figurine. But the monster I'm going to summon next will be able to take all of my knowledge and put it to use in the field. Next time, the Power Rangers will be destroyed so utterly there won't be enough left of them to fill a teaspoon. Okay, let's try this again, Layla encouraged, sitting at the table in the main chamber of the ancient library. Someone want to tell me why I'm the one testing out the communicators again? Durkham demanded as he stood on the other side of the room. I mean, couldn't Nikki get a shot at this time? Consider the payment for getting the last word in on the giant monster, Nikki suggested with a shrug. Besides, you trust Layla, right? Yeah, and I trust my paw. But if he asked me to climb a really tall ledge with no nets or ropes, I'd be at least a little hesitant, Dark insisted. Oh, come on. There won't be any ledges this time, Layla asserted him. I figured out what went wrong, and I fixed it. I promise. Okay, Dark said with a sigh. Once again, he formed the mental image of Nikki. Then pressed the LCM on his communicator, shutting his eyes. When he opened them, he saw he was, indeed, standing right beside Mickey, all in one place. It worked! Dick complained. Man, that was awesome. I totally teleported, and I suddenly feel a little less tense for some reason. Dirk? Patrick said, pointing to where he was standing. I think you lost something. Dirk turned to look where Patrick was pointing, his face turning red. Sure enough, laying on the ground where he was once standing, was a pair of white boxer shorts with little red hearts all over them. With a yelp, he immediately ran over and grabbed them, hiding them in his pocket as the others laughed. Okay, so I guess there are still some bugs to work out, Layla admitted, easing back into her chair. Hey, at least you got to the looking at least, Patrick insisted between chuckles. Yep, that's my genius little sister for you, Madeline proclaimed. So, any idea what you'll invent next? Madeline blinked in surprise as a quiet snoring came from her sister. Looking over, she saw that Layla had in fact fallen asleep in her chair. The team all smiled, Dirk rolling his eyes and gently scooping her up to take her to bed. Nikki crossed her arms behind her head, watching as Layla was sinking into the bedroom. You know, Layla's something special, the Red Ranger admitted to herself. She can kind of get scared-bait and stubborn when she makes mistakes. She can be a little fragile in combat, but she's got a ton of heart and knows her way around all kind of tech, from Earth or Gaia. There's no one else I want as our Blue Ranger.
This is I know we're in good hands with her working on our stuff. I think I'm going to stop here and give you guys the review of these two chapters. Now, last week, we spent about 2 hours and 30 minutes riffing on Spike's third season. And one of the things that Mikan does wrong is that he keeps talking about how, oh, I'm doing this in a Power Ranger style where the problems are solved all in one episode, and I'm focusing only on the Power Ranger explosions and the finishing moves. That is a very, very bland way of looking at Power Rangers. It's not that you can't do a Power Ranger fic in fanfic form. It's that there has to be a way to do it. And you have to love Power Rangers for more than just the, oh, look, it's the latest Megazord. And, oh, look, they got a brand new attack. Boom. When you do that, you lose the real reason why any of us, me especially, love Power Rangers. The characters. I don't just love the Red Ranger. I love Jason and Carter. I don't just think that the Pink Ranger is awesome. I think Jen is the best. See? A lot of the other people who are fans of Power Rangers could probably point out why you love those teams. It's not just that basic idea of, oh, new monster, new attack, boom. But different characters that pop up. Why do you think people got upset when got to find out, oh, Cat got replaced with this random girl, or oh, Jason, Zach, and Trini got replaced with a Mexican, a black girl, and some Asian guy that we'll probably never ever see again. Speaking of that Asian guy, anybody want to watch Trigun? My point stands. Where a lot of the stuff that in Starfleet fails as a pseudo Ranger series is the characters. We don't get time with them. We don't get any reason to care about them. They're just so bland with beyond just one-note characters. This story does an excellent job of moving beyond that. Of not making these characters feel one-note. While they each have their personality traits. Nikki is strong and badass, and Patrick is a little bit of Leonidas. And Dirk fills the chick role. They each start showing off more of who they are in these episodes and in these characters. You see, by now we've reached this third episode. You could almost consider it filler because nothing happens to it. If this was a normal Ranger series, some people might dismiss this as filler. But some people don't realize that in a proper Ranger series, you gotta also rely on some of these filler episodes to help us give us these character traits. So in the first one, the plot-centric one, we do get a lot of what their characters are. We see that there is more to Madeline than just that she's peppy and she's Pinkie Pie in human mode, and I love her for it. Nikki is not a standardized leader, unlike a certain Voltron Force member. And Layla isn't just being thrown into the battle and thinking that we can all lose our fight. The only reason why Billy got away with that is thanks to the Sentai footage. But even then, Billy slowly developed into the warrior we know he is today. And we see that there are hints that Patrick and Dirk are really, really surprisingly close friends with the way they work together and talk to one another. I really liked watching their bromance between the two each other, and I'm quite curious to see if later episodes will show why these two are really, really close, other than the fact that they're the only two men on the team. But you get my point. While we have a Power Ranger-esque explosion and the Megazord Stone at the end, it was more important that we saw the characters working together. We see Nikki's doubts stuff like that. Oh, sure, you can have an episodic series do 22 episodes, but unless you actually take the time to spring out each of these character moments, you're not going to have any reason to care. For example, in the filler episode, all we needed was about a few minutes to see that Nikki is a hard worker, that she tends to stress out over the little things and pushes herself a lot even though she doesn't need to. Simple, no? And it's not just that, you can also bring it out in the actions. Like, for instance, during the Ranger fight, we see that Dirk is snarky enough and tends to point out the obvious, or tends to be genre savvy. Or that Madeline will instantly try her best to run to anybody's side. Or Layla is quick to think on her feet. All it takes is just that one sentence, that one little bit to show character development, and boom, you start seeing these characters as more as people. This is especially important for this fic since we only got 22 parts. I checked ahead, yes, there's only 22 chapters that leads into the next season. But this is what I'm getting at. Yeah, pull this stuff off. Magna could do this no problem. It does need to make sure that these characters are something relatable, that we can connect with them on something. If you don't, then yeah, all it is just random monster attacks. And these guys in these spandex, it's not spandex! Suits come out of nowhere to fight! Yeah! And you're left wondering, why should I care? This is one of those reasons why I'm kind of looking forward to the MMPR movie coming out in 2017, or as I'm nicknaming it, Power Rangers The First. Only you Kamen Rider fans are going to get that one. Because I'm curious to see how they're going to take some of the character motivations and some of the character traits and plaster them out across a 90-minute to, say, 2-hour movie. Because Chase has always been my favorite Red, with Carter Andros coming in at a close second. American Red. Japanese Red, Agashi from Bokenzer. I'm quite curious to see how they're going to establish Chase's character. Are we going to see any moments of doubt from him? I'm also curious to see how they're going to handle Kim, since she's Mom's favorite Pink Ranger and my second favorite Pink Ranger. Top is Jen from Time Force. But all in all, I was kind of curious to see if this author could carry the momentum of the awesomeness of the first two-parter. And now, moving on, we got it. He's been doing great, and by the way, love the Megazord design. It looks so awesome! But then again, I always love a good Megazord. And I can't wait to see it going. Megazord. I just watched something awesome that also has a combining robot. I think I know what I'm doing next week. See you next time.